even if the phone is password protected, as long as it's turned on, they can do a brute force attack. Within 6 hours, you'll have every single thing that's on that phone. The police have their own forensic download specialist, and they can do it. So it's an absolute nonsense that the judiciary are charging him with not handing over his phone. It's completely salacious. Okay, second thing is the right wing in Britain is fragmented, and we need to coalesce. And if they could coalesce on one endeavour, the most important thing that we can do right now in Britain is to bring down the Labour government. Another 4 years of this and we'll be destroyed. So if we could have all four parties coalescing on one event, and it's a simple thing, a national strike. If we have a one-day national strike in Britain, it will bring down the Labour government. That's it.
Right, well, good luck with that. I don't think that's going to happen, but good luck, Primrose, all the same, mate. And, if I change that way, good on you. We'll keep going on Hans. Fed up with it. Fed up with media. Go ahead.
Yeah, over on the other side of the pond from you guys, but I've been watching what Tommy's been going through, seeing him coming on Alex Jones and talking to, some of the guys there, because, you have Owen Schroyer at InfoWars, who already spent 4 months in jail just recovering J6, was not involved in the riots, was even on the opposite side of the building. We've got Stephen Baker at the Blaze that they've arrested and going after just recovering J6. I was actually just watching an interview with Beverly Beatty, who's in jail right now for protesting an abortion clinic.
So, Hickey, I don't know if you're working, but I like to prank call people and do a fake British accent and just piss people off. So if they let me up, I'm gonna troll them. And we'll see. It's just kind of funny to troll people, whether they're on the left or on the far right. But once I troll them, the incoming hate comments and attacks on my profile, it's amazing. It's a lot of fun. This is what I call trolling art. Huh?
Totally listening. I think came at you, I got really pissed, trying to man, in the chillism room, we got a guy that's recording, and I was trying to name one of your profiles for recording, and I knew, I kind of thought I think that was you, right? But
Yeah.
as you were busy talking about a screenshot of, right, and this whole idea of people writing, I don't agree to be recorded in their thing. Well, they would have to take up a lawsuit against an argument that you would have to present about the terms of service and what it means to be recorded, or what it means to create art off of digital artifacts, something like that. But I'm relaxed now, because as much as I agreed with that illustrator is telling you about, that's busy trying to put what's not art outside of a margin, right? In the modern day, I like his arguments. I even like how he's restricted it, but it's like saying, hey, on my donut, I really like that big caramel chunk you got right there on the donut, and that's what he thinks art is, right? Where you're busy just and including trolling, So cool. I don't know if you were one of the callers or whatnot.
No, not on this live right now, but I know the room. I think I know the room you're talking about, where you were upset that I was recording, or I'm known as a recorder. But yeah, that's the thing, is it's art. It's how do you? There's no strict definitions, and so by violating terms of service, the way to get past that, ethically, is by calling it art. And
right.
Yeah.
It's hey, I didn't murder the person. It was an art performance.
Yeah.
It's but I hear you on that. And by the way, yeah, I go Ike, which is short for Mike, MIKEFAHL .com or .art. That goes to my big cartel. I was going to see whether or not you would run MikeFell.art, and because I have a boob picture, a woman with her boobs out painting, and I was going to post on Instagram a speed painting of it, and because Instagram had tagged some of my recent nudie drawings, but then I appealed it, and they gave them all back. They gave them all back to me, and so I was like, I wonder how much. I don't know. Never mind. I'm so this is recorded. Hey, I want to self promote.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to
however you want to do it, however you want to do this.
Yeah, I'm trying to go to your website right now.
Yes, see, I just barely purchased Big Cartel because I'm like, man, I am so used to being on the street, I can't even convert what it is I'm doing digitally. Then I got it like just hey, build the funnels, build the whole scenario, and setting up the new YouTube channels. I just love having a new phone where it like allows me to restart multiple accounts. It feels like I'm a rusted old barnacle covered dinosaur. Conway Waits.
Yeah, there's this one artist I really like. I don't know his name, but I've the algorithm kept showing me his stuff for a while. And what he does is he takes acrylic, he puts them into like ketchup bottles, with a pointed tip, and then he'll do like these flowers, but he'll film himself doing it. And so when he's pouring the paint from that bottle, and making all these flowers, there's just something so rhythmic and hypnotic about it. And he does like a music overlay, and that's why I'm saying like the art is, I don't even know if he can sell it, or if he does sell it, but I mean he does sell it. A lot of people who watch the videos end up purchasing what he's creating, and but he also does prints. And but yeah, I one day I want to try to do what he does with these flowers and these like these bottles. It's just so beautiful, and the finished product when it dries, like, oh my god, it really does. It's just so incredible. If I can, I don't know, I'm not even gonna waste my time looking for it, but let's listen in. They're not gonna bring me up, but I think listening to the British is really interesting for some reason, especially because they're speaking English.
I love this, what you got going now, meaning that the restrictions that they're saying, right, while you're playing it, I'm like, it is really toppling what is going on. And the argumentation the other guy made, like if BlackRock owns all of the property, then they can say, well, we don't want guns on our property.
Mm-hmm.
And there is the Second Amendment. I think you pointed that way earlier. This one is another government suppression, of varying ideologies expressed, and it's troublesome. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, the BlackRock stuff is fascinating. I've worked in wealth management, but not to the level of like what a BlackRock is or a Blackstone or any of these mega financial. But you know what they do spend money on? They spend money on art.
We need to be in the same party for something to work, for our voices to be heard. If we're all splintering off in different parties, I just don't see how that's going to work. And I just feel that we all need to be in the same party. How would that work? Does anyone any ideas?
Hi, Charlie. Do you want to hi, Jamie. I think in principle what you're asking for is fair, but I think in practice it's impossible. There was conversation about this yesterday about egos, and there have been conversations in the past about unifying Reform with UKIP and Lawrence Fox's party, and blending them together, and the Heritage Party. There was conversations with them as well. Now all of these parties, apart from Lawrence's, I would add, are splinters of UKIP anyway, or evolutions of. If you look at Reform, it's an evolution of UKIP. So you're never going to get that, because whilst the other smaller parties were in agreement to work together, Reform didn't want any.
Mike, since you're here, and who knows if we'll ever speak again, I just want to quickly read to you what art is in the tarot. I have a book about it. Let me read to you what art is because maybe this will help you with your artistic business, or at least give you help awaken you more, whatever that means. But I gotta go to the index to find it. I just read this the other day. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but because you're actually an artist and you're really doing art, I feel like if I could give you something through the cell phone, this would be it.
No, it's topical. Go for it.
Okay, this is Atu 14 art, the daughter of the reconcilers, the bringer forth of life, zodiacal trump of Sagittarius. Jupiter rules. Dragon's tail exalted. Original design, the figure of Diana, huntress, a winged and crowned goddess with flashing golden belt, stands and pours from her right hand the flame of a torch upon an eagle, while from her left hand she pours water from an urn upon a lion. Between her feet a moon-shaped cauldron of silver smokes with perfume. Hebrew letter, Samek, which means serpent. Tree of Life, path 25, joining Tifereth, beauty, to Yesod, foundation. So the connection is beauty and foundation. Colors, blue, black, cold, dark, gray, nearing black. Pour thine all freely from the vase in thy right hand, and lose no drop. Hath not thy left hand a vase? Transmute all holy into the image of thy will, bringing each to its token of perfection. Dissolve the pearl in the wine cup, drink and make manifest the virtue of that pearl. Temperance is a kettlefish. Harris to Crowley, date uncertain, 1939. Sagittarius means the archer. The traditional image of this card is that of Diana the huntress. We see echoes of this original theme in the two bows near the top of the card and tiny upward pointing arrow rising in the rainbow fumes of the cauldron. The celebrated Diana of Ephesus is portrayed in statuary as having many breasts. The deeply plunging neckline on the dress of the art card's main figure reveals 3 columns of neatly stacked breasts, reminiscent of the famous Ephesian statue of Diana. Thus, I think that's why you got that titty postcard you said you painted.
Dude, you totally hit it on the head, and I'm a Sagittarius, and I know about Jupiter, and I was like, who did I just meet, which is a Diana? And I was like, I was reading over this, like, God, it is impacting me as you say it, and it kind of gets into the, like even that part, like, paint what your will is, right? Now, I needed just that tarot read this morning, which, I literally, the definition that you're describing, that was fucking excellent. I mean, I don't know what a kettlefish is. I need to Google kettlefish. I mean, I think it's a type of fish, a fish that you could raise in a kettle, maybe. Or
No, temperance. Temperance is the first word, meaning that you are a fish, and that by temperance, you preserve the fish. The Taoistic saying is, government is like a little fish. If you poke it too much, you ruin it.
Oh, I subbed you on YouTube under a new account, so I got you there. If that's you.
Yeah. Love Art Joy is my YouTube. I've recorded over 4,000 Clown House rooms.
God, it'll be a pleasure to listen to some of those. That's great. That'll be a perfect repository for any video. I'm also trying to do some video compilations and make film. And so there's but maintaining my painting, I have to keep my core. I can't. I mean, maybe it's not Stanley Kubrick, the guy that did Blue Velvet. What is his name? Anyway, he was a painter before he became a filmmaker, and but he kind of goes back to painting to relax, or did.
It's a meditation for sure.
Yeah. But this one, the one I'm painting, is the death of Google God, right? I got Sophia and like the T9 Terminator, like toasting to a drink, and I got Norman Rockwell being ripped off of his painting, his stand, right? How he looks in the mirror while he's painting himself in his picture. Well, on that same picture now I have like a lady robot mid-journey tossing him to the ground, and I got like a John Henry, right? And John Henry represents John Henry, and then you get the AI track layer way ahead of him, and so it's like, hey man, art is being eclipsed. Norman Rockwell's being tossed. The robots are taking over, and there I have Stanley Kubrick shining, a camera up at monolith, that the monkeys are jumping at in 2001, and a birth of AI coming out of the death of neo-Nietzsche's killing Christ, right? Killing Google God, which is Christ, in this case, the robot Christ. So I don't know. Anyway, it's a fucked up piece, and I've been working on it, and I've been mythically haunted by it because I painted Christ with his eyes rolled up in his head, so you could see him, and then shortly after I drew that, my nephew was dying in a hospital, right? They had to put him down because he was brain dead. But his eyes opened, and they were both rolled back, and like cross-eyed rolled back, just like I was drawing it. And I was like, Jesus, I don't want to be manifesting death in the world, like finding over coincidences.
Well, that's a you problem.
I know. That is totally a me problem. But anyway, even the Sagittarius thing with Jupiter, that whole read, and the pearl into the wine, to like mix that. Like even when you were saying it's blue and dark gray, and I was looking up, and it's like I got a dark purple over the painting, not under the painting. But it's still translucent, but it just kind of darkened it. So the things that you were saying were just like they were hitting me like you were describing my mythic underworld. So I appreciate it.
You want to hear the rest of it?
Yeah, sure. I'm just listening. I'm still moving stuff around. So yeah, I'll when I'm finally tapping out, I'll let you know. But go ahead.
There's only one more page.
But can you do it in a fake British accent?
Yeah. But this is not by Crowley. This is by a guy named Lon Milo DeQuetti, who's a Thelemite in the OTO, which is the Ordo Templi Orientis, which is Crowley's cult. Let's see, page 134. Like I have Crowley's Book of Thoth, which is fucking unbelievably profound. So this is a book about Crowley's book. So this is page 135. This is the second part. with these exceptions, the Sagittarian imagery is almost completely smothered in alchemical symbolism. After all, as Crowley points out, this card represents the consummation of the royal marriage which took place in Adu 6. The art is the coagula. To the lovers, salve. Also, in this card, the white tincture of the Empress is united with the red tincture of the Emperor. We've already learned in Chapter 8 that the Magus, the Empress, and the Emperor represent the alchemical elements of mercury, salt, and sulfur. We also learned that these three principles, when combined and perfectly balanced, create the universal solvent, vitriol. What we haven't as yet learned is what to do with our vitriol. Just what are we supposed to dissolve it with? I guess the simplest answer would be to say that vitriol dissolves old life in order to create new life. Let's look at the art card and see where that new life is going to come from. First of all, notice that the figures in the forefront of the card are positioned before a huge golden egg. This is, of course, the Orphic egg, and everything we see happening in front of the egg is actually the secret work that is being done inside. Shimmering around the egg, as if to advertise the radiant life within, is a golden aura displaying in beautiful penmanship the alchemical motto, Visita Interiora Terrae Rectificando Invenies Occultum Lapidum. Visit the interior parts of the earth. By rectification thou shalt find the hidden stone. Cooking up the potion that is making that visit possible is a strange and wonderful being whom we first met as two characters, the bride and the groom. In Atu 6, the lovers, the Black King and White Queen, have now merged and become a single character with two heads. The white bride now has black hair and wears the golden crown. The black groom now has golden hair and wears the silver crown. Her/his arms are exposed to reveal that the body is also countercharged. His/her dress is decorated with both bees and serpents. and he stands behind a cauldron into which she pours water from a silver chalice from her left hand, and fire from his right hand. Flanking the cauldron, as they flank the Orphic egg and the lovers, stand the lion and the eagle. They have also made a dramatic change. The lion has turned white, the eagle is now red, having transmuted to their opposite characteristic by the dual baptism of fire and water, the union of the white and the red tinctures. At the very bottom of the card, the fire and the water exist together in harmony, Crowley writes. But this is only crude symbol of the spiritual idea, which is the satisfaction of the desire of the incomplete element of one kind to satisfy its formula by assimilation of its equal and opposite. I understand that for many readers of this book, these forays into the strange and abstruse world of alchemy may seem like unwelcome detours from the subject of tarot. They are, however, Crowley's forays, and they are an important aspect of the Thoth Tarot that set it apart from the more traditional decks. The alchemical aspect of the Thoth Tarot are implicit in the fundamental structure of the tarot itself. Indeed, until I become familiar with the alchemical process Crowley introduces in the Book of Thoth, I really had no idea why the original title of the Temperance/Art card was The Daughter of the Reconcilers, the Bringer Forth of Life.
Dude, what book are you reading? It's a book on Crowley's tarot book. It's not the tarot book itself. It's
Yeah.
right.
Let me
So
put it
who's
in the
writing
chat.
this?
It's yeah, I'll put it in the chat for you.
Because that dude, you're hitting me all over the place. It's almost like I'm like, and I've read some Crowley, but really, and I've gone through a Thoth deck and read it, but in the book I read by Crowley was actually a hiking book. And I'm trying to remember the title of it. And some lady was so afraid because she knew the guy that sold it to me, and she thought that I was going to be cursed by it. But everything you're mentioning, that temperance and art and the egg, like I was flipping out because the painting I have has this egg in it, right? And it's a prominent picture that I didn't mention, and so I was altered, a prominent sub portion of the image, and I'll shoot a picture and then put it in my PTR. But yeah, I'm just taken aback by the confluence of just understanding how street works. Oh man, that's the only other Elon I've ever seen, by the way. Interesting. Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot. Okay. And is that a PDF, or did you go by? Are you hardback reading that, or assuming it's online? It's crazy, man. Okay. And that's under the Art Temperance card. It's so weird because it feels like, oh, I must be on Crowley's team religio-spiritually, because these things are nailing me. Even the way you're talking about this woman being the opposite of me, and she's a water sign, I'm a fire sign, and it's this alchemical thing, and then the sulfur salt and whatever the last ingredient was causing this, you didn't use the word cantankerousness, but like conflict. And I thought, man, you're hitting home.
Yeah.
And but okay, anyway.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to read it to you, because I know, since you're an artist, like, this is like truly the greatest gift I could give you through a phone, like, because that, and even reading it myself, I'm just like, wow. It's like every time I reread, I'm just like, man, I had no comprehension at all, and it's not even in my memory. But now that I've read to you art, it's even more explicit in my memory. Lucifer, welcome to the room.
Hello.
Since you're here, let's have a brief convo, and then I'll read to you the devil, according to Lon Milo DeQuetti, and you will understand more and more about your true self.
I totally understand about me.
No. Wait till I read to you. Wait till I read to you. You'll be like, God damn.
There'd be some shit I already know, but go ahead.
So you want to hear it?
That's all. It's just confirmation. Yeah, go ahead. I'm always down for it.
Alrighty, here we go.
What's up, Ike?
His name is actually Mike.
Oh, it says Ike.
I know it's just
Oh.
short. Okay, so this is the devil, the lord of the gates of matter, the child of the forces of time, zodiacal trump of Capricorn. Saturn rules, Mars exalted. Original design: the figure of Pan or Priapus. Levi's Baphomet is sound commentary on this mystery, but should not be found in the text. Hebrew letter Ayin, I. Tree of Life, path 26, joining Tifereth, beauty to Hod, splendor. Colors: indigo, black, blue-black, cold, dark, gray, nearing black. With thy right eye, create all for thyself, and with thy left, accept all that be created otherwise. The devil does not exist. It is a false name invented by the Black Brothers to imply a unity in their ignorant muddle of dispersions. A devil who had unity would be a god. The devil may not exist, but there is most definitely a devil card in the tarot. And in my opinion, he is the most universally misunderstood character in the entire deck, but then you probably guessed I would say that. This is the trump of Capricorn, the sign of the goat. Indeed, for the purpose of fortune telling, the devil has truly been the scapegoat for all the perceived evils that could befall us, and the sinful temptations that are constantly luring us toward self-destruction. How convenient. But if the devil is supposed to be the card that represents evil, which card should we pick to represent good? All the other trumps have the potential of representing the qualities of both good and evil. Why do we need one card just for evil? Can't the fool be thoughtless enough? The magus lascivious enough? The high priestess seductive enough? The empress wicked enough? The emperor tyrannical enough? The hierophant bigoted enough? The lovers unfaithful enough? The chariot pretentious enough? Lust lascivious enough? The hermit self-abusive enough? Fortune ill-fated enough? Adjustment unfair enough? The hanged man tormented enough? Death murderous enough? Art chaotic enough? The tower catastrophic enough? The star dependent, despondent enough? The moon deceitful enough? The sun narcissistic enough? The eon destructive enough? Or the universe cold and cruel enough to handle all the evil in the world? It should be obvious that the devil is something other than the ultimate evil. That something other is just what his full title proclaims. He is Lord of the Gates of Matter. That in itself can be pretty scary, especially if you've been convinced that earthly life is somehow in estrangement from God, and that all things on the material plane, including you and me, are inherently evil. Grow up! Whatever the supreme being is, it would not be the supreme being if it weren't everything, including you and me and the devil. It seems pretty obvious that the devil is just God, as misunderstood by the ignorant and wicked. Crowley explains it like this. This card represents creative energy in its most material form. In the zodiac, Capricornus occupies the zenith. It is the most exalted of the signs. It is the goat, leaping with lust upon the summits of earth. In this sign, Mars is exalted, showing in its best form the fiery, material energy of creation. The card represents Pan, Pangenitor, the all-begetter. Crowley tells us somewhere else that the fool, the hermit, and the devil offer a threefold explanation of the male creative energy.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
What do you mean? What is he doing?
Ramono is making a powerful bull rush. He's turned on by the power of the tarot. Okay, I'm almost finished with this. Here we go.
Who is Lucifer?
He's another dude in the room. But
That's
it's not to the point of why he loves reading.
Ramono. That's Steve. You never met Steve? Okay, Ramono, I'm going to finish up this reading.
And
Listen.
you have Ike in the room?
Mike.
Hi, Mike. I can go by Ike.
Oh.
There's Nathan Ike Turner. We're not Ike Turner. Anyway, okay.
Okay, are you Ramono?
I
I'm almost finished with this. It's just about finished. Ramono, listen closely. Crowley tells us elsewhere that the Fool, the Hermit, and the Devil offer a threefold explanation of the male creative energy, but this card, the Devil, especially represents the masculine energy at its most masculine. Masculine energy at its most masculine indeed. Look at that card. I don't have to draw you a picture. Lady Harris could hardly have been more explicit. The whole card is the Devil. A magnificent three-eyed Himalayan goat stands before a tree in its two great transparent globular roots. Perhaps most interesting are the figures in the testes. In traditional tarot decks, the Devil trump shows a woman and a man standing beneath the Devil in curious attitudes of worship and bondage. These figures are translated in the Harris painting as 4 female forms in the left testicle and 4 male forms in the right. The top male form bears the classic horned head of the Devil, who appears to have fought his way to the top. The pairs of broken lines are insinuative of chromosomes, and the starry rays at the equator of the globe suggest cellular division. This is the Devil the world has been taught to fear. He is life itself, unrestrained, in mad love, and seeking to grow and unite with absolutely everything. The formula of this card is then the complete appreciation of all existing things. He rejoices in the rugged and the barren, no less in the smooth and the fertile. All things equally exalt him. He represents the findings of ecstasy in every phenomenon. However naturally repugnant, he transcends all limitations. He is Pan. He is all. In the wake world, Crowley spins a charming fairy tale of a little girl's initiatory trip up the Tree of Life. Her name is Lola, and her guide is her holy guardian angel, whom she calls her fairy prince. When they reach path 26, that of Ayin and the Devil, they attend a strange banquet on a desolate heath. It was midnight, and the Devil came down and sat in the midst, but my fairy prince whispered, "Hush! It is a great secret, but his name is Yahashua, and he is the savior of the world." And it was very funny because the girl next to me thought it was Jesus Christ, till another fairy prince, my prince's brother, whispered as he kissed her, "Hush! Tell nobody ever. That is Satan, and he is the savior of the world."
It's crazy. It's just such an excellent inflection. And I do like how, I mean, you premised it, though, which I thought was interesting. No, I'm not going to fuck it up. I'm not going to fuck it up right now. I'm going to relax.
That was absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Just sums it all up. Really. Thank you, Art. Love Art. John. Thank you.
The fake British accent helped. What I thought was interesting was that before he quested for what was good, he was defining what was bad, but he used black people as an allegory, not as black people, but as people unifying in this metacause was what he was suggesting was a type of evil, which I guess you could say, like, in the pool of what you were stating earlier, in terms of like Tommy Robbins or these outside groups in England, or the Owen, whatever, Fletcher, the Alex Jones dude being arrested on January 6th, like that idea of mass censorship that's coming down as a reflection of like another group, like coalescing in power to restrict another part of the population. But I don't know. Anyway, I was just kind of pointing at that as like what an interesting way to define what evil was, and then to forgive it, and then Pan is luscious on all material things, right? But then he reflects on Yeshua and then comes to a conclusion. And I think there's other models that could be sprouted from right there about reality, but nonetheless, just the way it was written, I was like, damn, that hits the spot. And this whole time, now it's making me want to go contact this woman that have been dating, because she's a Capricorn, and so she's on fire, and while you were reading it, she's a claimed Satanist, right? But I've been pushing her away for what I thought were like moral reasons, but this whole idea of the alchemical coming together. Plus, I've always painted satyrs, which are pants, and had satyr pixie things my whole life. So it's just so, like, in terms of a mythology, a background mythology, probably because I'm huge and I was dating like a really small woman, and I'm like, wow, she's like a pixie, and I'm like just leaping through the woods haphazardly, like free, and then later on in life, I damaged myself on purpose and masochistically disabled myself. I mean, I allowed for that to happen and moved towards it. And so my feet are fucked, and sometimes I'll refer to them as hooves now. Anyway, interesting room. Oh, and there's the PTR, and on the left is the egg I was telling you about. There's like left back reference there.
That's a big canvas. It looks pretty nice.
Well, that one's on wood, and I actually fucked up because if I ever paint on wood, it's got to be a 1/4 inch, and that's 1/8 of an inch, and I already busted the bottom corner. So I'm gonna paint it, and then I'm gonna cut it, and if it comes out broken, then I'll just have to suffer it.
Wait, how did you say you damaged your feet?
I leapt off a 2-story roof towards a star. It was very wild. It was very unbounded, and I had my reasons, but I guess I don't want to go into all that because the room's being recorded, and B, it's which might be in my favor, but B, because it's extremely like a lengthy detail, to make sense out of the why I would jump off of a roof. I would just give you, instead of the long, I'd give you the short instead of the long and short of it, right? Which is I leapt after a star after I drank some heard some sounds coming up from the wall, saw a ghost head, and got onto the roof, and was pulled up onto the roof through a air duct system. But that was all mechanical, and then I saw a 10 pointed the tree of life coming up from the roof, like on the spouts that were on the roof. I was like, wow, this looks like the Sephora. Is that the name of it? Whatever the 10-point Hebraic tree of life was on the roof, like it was a runway. And then I saw the star. And anyway, so that's kind of the short of it. And then I end up running. I'm cutting out tons, but then I end up running to Leap, and it was also tied in with this Egyptian mythology of I had to weigh the weight of my soul, or the weight of my heart, against the weight of a feather. And so there was all this like mixed mythos that were coming together that inspired this idea that I had to leap, and so I did, and then I fucked up my feet because I landed like a Superman champ. That's why New York sucks.
Okay, well, I'm gonna make it all worth your while because I'm gonna help you reconcile your unfortunate, injury. I'm gonna.
15 years ago.
I'm gonna read to you the star. This is at 217. I hope this helps you understand what you went through because I've heard this before actually. This is called the daughter of the firmament, the dweller between the waters, the zodiacal trump of Aquarius. Saturn rules, Neptune exalted. Original design, and it's amazing because I have a painting of the star tarot card that I did with this girl that I was, pretty wild about. It didn't work out, but I knew that, every moment with her was magic, so I wanted to, create a painting with her. So we did the star. This is what it says. Original design, the figure of a water nymph disporting herself. A woman, naked and kneeling on her left knee, pours from a vase in her right hand silver waters into a river by which grow roses, the haunts of colored butterflies. With her left hand, she pours golden waters over her head, which are lost in her long hair. Her attitude suggests the swastika. Above flames a great star of 7 rays. Hebrew letter Ha, or He, window. Tree of Life, path 15, joining Kakma wisdom to Tifereth beauty. Colors violet, sky blue, bluish mauve, white tinged purple. Pour water on thyself, thus shalt thou be a fountain to the universe. Find thou thyself in every star, achieve thou every possibility. I think, looking at the finished cards, you will remember all the sequences you have forgotten, and I shall be crushed by alterations which will confuse the structural design and any spectator without your knowledge, and so suffer little children to come unto thee, and confuse them not by too much symbolism, and stay thy hand from poor Frida's tormented visions. Harris to Crowley, date uncertain. Drawing.
Just, by the way, not to cut you off, but even God, I just love that. Like, it sounded like don't overcrowd the symbolism. I mean, there's symbolism there, and you can have some, but don't overcrowd it, which is precisely what I'm doing now. Meaning it's still, it's almost like I feel like I'm a devil's reject even, like, so here's Crowley. Not that Crowley's the devil, but it is interesting how he's been framed. Anyway, don't.
Well, that's the thing about these clown house rooms is like, have you ever looked up into a star and seen the light, in the middle of the night, and then you're like, I can't believe it's like, 600 quadrillion years for me to observe this star, because it had to travel throughout the whole galaxy to get, see what I'm saying? So it's like every clown house room, this is what look at how many years of evolution so we could chat on our phones and you could tell me the story about how you jumped off a roof to catch a star, and I'm reading to you what some British, whack job in 1902, because this is very, very intelligent because this is like a real analysis of ancient human symbolism.
So, but let me say this, right? Like the star taking that many years and hitting us now, right? And like Aleister Crowley's story being, written before our parents were born, right? Being like meaningful now, right? Meaning it's almost like to look at your world as if it itself is just a film, a frame, a series of independent cutouts with like an orthographic flat shot of it. It is significant, right? Because then all of a sudden the clown houses make sense. Because I'm busy like, well, why are you guys arguing a 2,000-year-old book or wanting to be a part of a 4,000-year-old people? Like, what's this appeal? What's this drive? What's this belief that you're going to get to truth instead of approximate truth in some paisley sideline ornate design, the way your fish will swim, if that makes sense. But
Well, the Hasidic Jews are all into this stuff. They just don't want to read Crowley because he's a British Christian Kabbalist. But the Jewish Kabbalism is no different. And in fact, if they were to read this, they would actually understand they would understand more about what they're doing.
I'm feeding off of everything you're doing, or everything you're reading, and I'm still looking for this laptop camera, trying to bring my coffees into the room and shit. And then
You,
I'll probably get everything all set up, and then I'll be like, break it all down, gotta go out and paint, or gotta take my laptop into the other room.
well,
So
you should.
shit.
I encourage you to try to paint the tarot cards because if you study what you're painting, in conjunction with the actual painting. So I have a. So what happened to me is I went out to California in 2010, and I went to this antique shop in Hermosa Beach, and I bought a book called Tarot Meditations by Dr. Paul Foster Case, and it was a correspondence course, and it was in Los Angeles, early 1900s, and they would encourage all their students to paint the tarot cards in conjunction to reading and studying the book of this master named Dr. Paul Foster Case. And Paul Foster Case was part of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, which is a Crowley organization based in Pasadena or California, whatever. Anyways, point is, uh, I'm not saying you actually should do this. I mean, maybe like it could be a useful exercise for you to study tarot.
No, and people have said that, and I've said, well, how about I just make an Odyssey deck with the cards that I've already made, and then apply meaning on the back. But to go through the ornateness of that, because I'm aligned to a lot of what Crowley's saying, I don't know. Um, like I said, a lot of what you were saying was coincidentally aligning. No matter it was like every topic, I was finding how it had some form of intersection with me, and some application in my world immediately, like the star, like you know,
I would just say for an artist, tarot is like a software program or like a hardware program. I don't know.
So you're making a good point. I think it's, and and I rarely go to church. Yesterday I went to watch my niece sing in an Episcopal church, and there was all the stained glass that was on the wall, and the art inside of the stained glass was so archaic and flattened and beautiful. And I sat there thinking, like, maybe there is something like reapproaching something that's a bit dated in its art form, like the tarot, meaning the creation of this tarot, and then mimicking it. I just always found, like, well, why would I want to paint somebody with a different number of cups, or a different number of wands? But and maybe I need that ornateness, but I'm thinking still that whatever geometry and codic that I have moved through, like, it's almost like I have to still flush all of that out, right? And so if I align with the software program of spending a lot of time doing the tarot, although a good exercise, it might offset my own theory or my own way in which I'm looking at things. But the more I'm seeing a lot of things, it's just overlaid in a magic. Anyway, but I'm just throw anything at me, and then you get that out of California, and then you live in New York, though.
No, no, I live in Chicago, and I recorded the whole book. I put it on YouTube, and it became a very popular series of videos because people are researching, and also the algorithm likes the content because it's very intelligent and pictographic or glyphic, glyphs. So it's like it's just to me it's profound, and I can text my father. He'd be like, oh, why in the world are you reading about this? Like, shame on you. And I'm just like, if you don't like books, I mean, you don't like art, and a lot of people are just not into art, and they're really so hyper political and hyper Jesus focused. Like, they're waiting for the apocalypse. A lot of Americans are really, really programmed heavily on like 1950, 1960s, Christian moralism as well as conservatism. Basically, the Fox News crowd, which is fine, that's who they are. But what I'm just getting at is that studying alternative content, especially now, makes you understand even what everybody on the main stage is LARPing, like Donald Trump. I mean, the fact that his name is Trump and it's in the tarot, and it's constantly referring to Trump. It's like, okay. And then Kamala, her name sounds like, calm or Kamala, and then Allah is in the name. And when you reverse Kamala backwards, you get Alamak, which means God is great. So the point is, tarot is a study of the symbols of God, and God is like the all, ALL, and art is ALL. It's this. That's why I say, like, I always go back to a three-letter conspiracy theory, and I don't know if you know Heronstone on here, but he calls it Bob. He says everybody's in the cult of Bob, but there actually was a cult in ancient Persia called the cult of Babism. So what I'm saying is, it's basically a universal theory, and it deals with three variables. And if you study physics, velocity equals distance over time, or, what I'm saying is it always requires three variables to calculate or to create a definitive response. Yeah.
I'm writing a paper against Christopher Michael Langan's cognitive theoretic model of the universe, but it requires that I undermine, right? And he's making this imbricated or scaled relationship, or tiled. Tiled is maybe your word, which is what imbricated means. Anyway, and so it's this idea that because we can see origin and cause of origin here, that we can believe, even with physics, that origin, right, is necessary, or that single origin is necessary, meaning the term universe in his theory, cognitive theoretic model of the universe, right, it implies the oneness, implies the allness, the ultimate all. And so I'm busy arguing against the idea that the empirical data that we collect, that we then logically ascribe to a singular God or concept, is itself reproachable, because we can never observe or get to this origin that we're claiming as a singular origin. And the argument is that all plurals, like all specimens belong to a species, and so the species is then categorized, and so all things are of one, right? And so I'm busy arguing with the idea that we're all one, or that all things are one, or that truth is actually a singular point of matched up variable, strands, like a collaboration of like different geographic layers, right? They're all bound together, and within them is a difference. There's all difference, right? But I'm still just arguing again that like kind of like Mandela effect arguments, or like glitches in the material world, or fissures in it are of an outbound entity, some or entities, if you will. And so because I keep arguing like that monotheism came, at least through Egypt, after the polytheism, right? That monotheism via Hatshepsut in Egypt should not be owed to, meaning that we're always stating that the plural necessarily has to be combined into one, because it can be, not because it's observed to be. And that's really this distinction, that it's almost an anthropomorphic belief, because we know that we have the inside of our skull and the inside of our belly, and that we're a singular sensory organism, that somehow this oneness among many distributes to God, and or to the claim of God. That even the notion of a singular God is itself arguable. That's odd by that. But then, to me, back down to the tarot distinctions, like some like a lot of my arguments are based on geometries. And so when you're mentioning threes, right, Langan also mentions things in triads, that you need to have three things, two that are comparative and one that sits aside of it to justify the comparison. and so that, and you know, we know that a triangle is the smallest, you know, next to a circle, the geometric straight line shape. And but then I'll try to deconstruct what a triangle is when I'm looking at stars. Like I can see a I can make any 3 points anywhere a triangle. And so the definition of what the triangle is, or its essence, right, is itself like an orthodox. Like, maybe I don't want to get in the weeds, but what I'm saying is, if you drew a triangle on a piece of paper, you could then erase the lines, and you would have you could even erase one of the vector points, and the dent that you left in the paper would be a palimpsest that you could say was a remnant of a triangle, right? Or something that is breaking down the idea of things that you would call a triangle and things you would no longer call a triangle. And even that quick shift, the way in which the rudiment of geometry could be deconstructed, like an abandonment of math or reason, could also be a component of the universe, of the cosmos. And so, I don't know, it's like an argument against rationalism, even though you have to use rationalism and you know, diatheism and contrary arguments, right? Which is, in order to speak about contradictions, you already have to be non-contradictory in your speech. Anyway, I babble it because all I was trying to drive at was the difference between and me, it's pentagram,
Yeah.
triangles became significant, pentacles.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll pause there.
You know, you said triad. You know, there's the monad, the duad, the triad. Like you said, the pentacle. But within the three, you know, when you have a three, it requires the one and the two within it. So it's like relativity. But to me, I get the feeling that, you know, I like to say a 3-letter conspiracy theory, but then the other conspiracy theory is a 4-letter conspiracy theory, which is essentially agape or love, and that's the the coagula salve, or the catharsis of Christ or Jesus. So, you know, love God, God love, or even God Father, Father God. But really, the whole thing is intelligence. So
Yeah, what's capable of the mind, and and I don't know if you ever heard of Daniel Everett and his relationship to Chomsky's universal grammar argument,
Mhm.
but if you have, like Daniel Everett discovers the Piraha, and the Piraha, they can't really count above 4. Things are, you know, they don't count. It's not culturally part of how it is they pass down a language to their kids, so they don't count really above a certain number sensically in a way that we do, and their language is missing recursion, such that you can't say Bob went to the store, picked up a candy bar, and came back. It would just be Bob went to store and back, right? You couldn't add that embedded secondary thing in their language. So they don't order their language grammatically where one would believe that they would sync the meanings in like regular human, what we generally consider a rational grammar. And if Daniel Everett, he met him because he was a Christian convert, and they converted him away from Christendom by basically, once he became conversational, because he stayed with them for a couple of years and was learning what they were doing, they basically said to him, "Hey, did you meet Jesus?" No, he says. Did anyone you ever know meet Jesus? He says, "Well, no." And he says, "How about your grandparents? Did they meet Jesus?" And he said, "Well, no." And then the whole tribe laughed at him. Like, what a fool you've been, right? Like they found it nonsensical that to talk about a historic figure necessarily, if you nor somebody who you trust has never met the figure, that you don't historic story, it to them is nonsensical. So they consider the Piraha to be the most empirical language in existence, meaning that the grammar is based on what is sensed immediately around them. It's not any logical.
Well, that's like saying they're a bunch of Zen priests, that they're always in the now. They use their language for the immediate as opposed to any type of future or past abstract.
But the thing is you can. It's not a genetic trait. You can raise people in and out of this group, and they'll if they're raised in the group, then they learn or they don't learn this whole aspect of extended rationale that we in the West and in the modern world all already adhere to.
Look. So what happens is, Crowley says that the value of a language is in its abstract, and so if you look at Zen Buddhism and you study, Japanese and Hindu or Japanese Buddhism, Taoism, Hinduism, the language is, you could quickly tell somebody about the eternal now in one paragraph, but through like Zen koans and really the whole culture and the philosophy or the poetry, it's basically, I don't know, do you say that is recursive to try to get people to simplify and to just deal with the material world as opposed to words like Shakespeare said? I mean, that's kind of what, yeah, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah. Meaning I would agree to that. It's kind of like the Buntu click whistle language, which is more like based off of hunting in groups and that kind of thing. Like they just the language itself doesn't have a syntax. So this group is a totally phonic, non-formalized grouping also, and so it's very simplified. So in other words, to ask the Piraha when they make a statement to be simplified, at least from my understanding, what I understand about this topic, right, is itself already a given, meaning they're already just broken into these kind of direct, like, yeah, many, some, none, like that's how they would count, right? One, some, many would be like the way they would count, and then there wouldn't be any need to formalize like multiples beyond that. And so the idea of a redux is kind of, and from my understanding, it's not applicable to this population, and that's why Daniel Everett's work ran evidence against Chomsky's universal grammar, because Chomsky's universal grammar presumes all sorts of inflation and abstracts, right? Basically, maybe this population is just like their program, their grammar, if you will, is so primitive or broken down that it's almost like what a family of language might have looked like right when monkeys were jumping out of trees and being the precursors to man, right? It's like a super primitive-esque type of language, and they did find them hidden in South America, in the jungles. So it's just, I don't know. To me, it's a fascinating topic, but I mean, I just push that into the margins and get back into a regular reason about monads, triads, and then when you said the fourth is agape, like you're allowing something beyond the most minor, which is the triangle, in terms of a geometric area, and you're opening that up, and so that is an opening of abstract thought, and that then.
But that's the square then. That's the perfect square, which is love, which is really the cube. And the cube, is the whole thing is black rock. But like when we first started talking, you said like the artist who's chiseling at that block to create what's hidden beneath. So again, I think all this stuff just is like Gnostic gnosis or God work. I think it's hypnosis. Rune, welcome to the room. Rune and I have been reading Crowley poetry and other works of art past couple days. He's interested in magic.
Well, good to have you join. And guys know on that, but I, to recenter back to what Crowley was doing, right? Because I don't want to take away from anything that he's doing. I'm almost making a fractured, layered argument as to why I shouldn't do tarot. But maybe I will anyway, right? Like I haven't even read the Bible all the way through. And this is what I was going to mention. The clown rooms that have the appeal to Jesus does have to do with almost like if I'm a fire sign and I'm a pan and I'm a Sagittarius, I'm also the horse and I'm shooting the arrows and it's all fire. Right? So you're approaching this thing. But I was going to mention the overcomplication of symbols, right? On the pentagram had a limited series of symbols that you had to deal with that were all associated with one of 5 colors on the tips of the tines of a pentagram, or the pentacle. And the pentacle, what was connected was the outline arch between the tines had an organ written on it. Your lungs, your stomach, your kidneys, your liver, your heart. Right, so they were all torso organs. And this was somebody that studied elders in China, right? He would go there and live and learn martial arts. He's still alive, Jimmy Man. And so he learned from these elders there, and then he goes here to America, and he goes and he learns from elder Native American Indians to learn their medicine. And then he's the one that wrote this pentacle out and put it on my wall after I was healing from this jump, right? And so the thing was to add to a second meta layer to my story, it was as if I was hearing items, clicks and sounds in the audio field in my house, in my regular domain, anything that stands out, like a coffee pot clicking, a door snapping, something like that. When there's 3, right, it's interesting. And then when you follow a geometry of auditory sounds in your head, you can eventually intersect either one of 5 colors, an organ system that you're feeling, and you can get an idea of directionality that I would say is like if there's jinn or angels or something outside of our matrix that are attempting to inform us of information, they will do so in Ubuntu or click language that formulates geometries in your head and can actually inform you as to where to geo-relocate on the planet if you pay enough attention to it. Anyway, so I'm just going to spit that out. And so now though, just to back up, even though in the center of my painting I have this macabre, right? It's 3D, two triangles intersecting oppositionally into one another. And so that is a powerful geometry. And then one last thing I'll say is, if you take a pyramid with 5 sides, right, where the base is 4 sides, then you can still generate triangles on the outside, right, that are maybe like a 45 degree. You can have a triangle on the outside that is 3 and not a 4 base pyramid, I guess, and that 3 then can attach to or share a face with a triangle that has only a base of 3 instead of a base of 4. And so this shift away from the macabre, where the macabre is generally, I believe, 2 4-faced pyramids intersecting and not 2 3-point or 3-based pyramids intersecting each other.
What about the hexagram though? Because I've heard the hexagram is the symbol of the universe.
Yeah, well, the thing is the hexagram it shows up in all sorts of religious iconography, and even the swastika as part like a mimicking of a Greek key, and old design is more like how one can fold orthograph, like unfold a paper that's folded twice, and then run like a geometric line around any paper, the way a paper is being unfolded. folded that was folded evenly twice, once this way and then once across itself, right? You would open up a quad there. So the hexagram, that's why the hexagram is a the hexagram is 6-pointed, right? And so, that's the Metatron geometry is based off of the hexagram, and that is the Merkaba, right? And so when you take the hexagram, that's a flat version on the side, and that's why I question, if you make that three-dimensional, do the intersecting triangles now of the hexagram, if it's a symmetrical hexagram, right? Do the triangles that are turned into now pyramids, right? Part of those pyramids, do they have a base? Or what is the difference between a Merkaba that has two four-based pyramids running into one another versus a Merkaba that has two three-based pyramids running into one another, right? And then what would it mean if you had a three-base running oppositionally into a four-base pyramid, right? Meaning because the orthographic of the hexagram as a symmetry is being meaningful, to not know what the 3D construct is, when we presume it would be symmetrical, we presume that God would only, or the Platonic solid, if you will, you'd only ever want to retain first the most minimal. So you would presume not the square. You would presume that a pyramid would be made up of three or four sides and not five sides, right? So I presume
I gotta tell you, I feel like I'm listening to somebody in 2024 recreate Spinoza or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Sorry, I'm babbling. You got me, and I'm standing here, and I'm like, well, let me hook up this camera.
Well, also as you're saying it, it's like the first time I've ever tried to compare like a four-sided pyramid to a three-sided pyramid in like my mind's eye. And I'm like, it's pretty difficult to actually visualize 3D geometry, in your mind's eye, like in your imagination. And that's just like very rudimentary geometry. Imagine trying to create a tetragrammaton in your mind's eye. It almost really kind of looks like a COVID-19 virus or something. Spike protein.
Come on, Rube, get in here and stir this up so I can go on mute and listen to you guys banter.
All right, I'm gonna finish the reading of the star for you.
Oh, okay, please.
And that'll conclude the room for the day. And we can have another conversation before we end the room, but this is gonna be it. This is the culmination of the star. I hope we all get laid. Okay, it says, pour water on thyself, thus shalt thou be a fountain to the universe. Find thou thyself in every star. Achieve thou every possibility. I think looking at the finished cards, you will remember all the sequences you have forgotten. I shall be crushed by alterations which will confuse the structural design. Any spectator without your knowledge, and so suffer little children to come unto thee, and confuse them not by too much symbolism, and stay thy hand from poor Frida's tormented visions. Harris de Crowley. Drawing from imagery found in the first chapter of the Book of the Law, the star is one of the most intensely thelemic cards in the deck. To truly appreciate its secrets, one must be familiar with the contents of that chapter and cognizant of its possible meanings. Central subject is Nuith herself. Here, she is not pictured as the infinite arch of the night sky, as we see her on the stele of Atu 20, the Eon, but tangibly personified as a beautiful goddess. The 3 7-pointed stars that populate this card are versions of the Star of Babylon, and reveal to us, if we haven't already figured it out, that Nuit and Babylon are, to Crowley, 2 aspects of the same goddess. Babylon, he tells us, is yet a further materialization of the original idea of Nuith. She is the Scarlet Woman, the sacred harlot, who is the Lady of Art 211. He also refers to the seven-pointed star as the star of Venus, as if declaring the principal characteristic of her nature to be love. The abode of Babylon knew it, and the tree of life is the third Sephirah Bina, the supernal Sother. In the great name Yod-He-Vav-He, the mother is the first He. It makes perfect sense to attribute He to this trump, which presents the sublime image of the goddess of the infinite space. The Harris star, isn't that fucking crazy? Kamala Harris? What the fuck? I'm telling you. That's why this shit is all wrapped up in a cult. It's got to be. It's got to be a secret society. Look at the names, Trump and Harris. I can't believe this. The Harris star is very faithful to the original description see above. She even includes the roses and butterflies seen in the lower right corner that are absent in more traditional decks. The river, which is a bit hard to see, flows at the bottom of the card and is demarcated by hills on the distant shore. Perhaps the most exciting departure from the traditional versions of the star is the huge celestial globe that dominates the card. This globe is often mistakenly identified as the Earth. If it were the Earth, it would dramatically diminish the spiritual and cosmic scale of this card. The celestial globe represents the entire heavens surrounding the Earth. Therefore, all other images on this card that are placed outside of the celestial sphere must represent spiritual environments that transcend even the concept of infinite space. The largest and smallest of the three stars are found outside the celestial sphere. The former spins counterclockwise like a cosmic pinwheel in the upper left corner of the card. The latter tumbles clockwise like a tiny starseed from the golden bowl in the goddess's right hand. The third star whirls counterclockwise on the celestial sphere itself. The two cups in her hands, Crowley writes, are fashioned as breasts, as it is written, the milk of the stars from her paps, yea, the milk of the stars from her paps. From the golden cup, he continues, she pours this ethereal water, which is also milk and oil and blood, upon her own head, indicating the eternal renewal of the categories, the inexhaustible possibilities of existence. Crowley completes the description thus. The left hand, lowered, holds a silver cup, from which also she pours the immortal liquor of her life. This liquor is the Amrita of the Indian philosophers, the Nepenthe of the and ambrosia of the Greeks, the Alkahest and universal medicine of the alchemists, the blood of the Graal, or rather the nectar, which is the mother of that blood. Traditionally, the star is the card of hope, promise of things unseen. What is the hope that new it offers us? What is the promise of our star goddess? I wish I could simply reprint the entire first chapter of the Book of the Law and show you. But this short excerpt might give you some idea. I give unimaginable joys on earth. Certainly not faith while in life upon death, peace unutterable, rest, ecstasy, nor do I demand aught in sacrifice. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this meditation. Health, wealth, love, peace of mind, happiness, and strength. David Bowie's looking down on us. Led Zeppelin is up there, and it's Celebration Day. Vote Trump and go to the gym, fatties!
That's hilarious.
You know, I study Neuralink